and entrepreneur straight out of New York City, Michael Chernow. What's cracking?
I was given such bad guidance, such bad advice. I had testosterone levels in the low 200s, sometimes in the high 100s. All of a sudden made sense why I had no sex drive, why I gained a bunch of weight. I didn't even give a shit about the gym, and I used to be an athlete. That all coming together with finding out that there was an opportunity in the system and getting on therapies that I credit for changing my life, saving my marriage, probably preventing me from having a heart attack in my 40s because I have heart disease in my family. Lost 50 pounds, That's when I was like, we got to fucking do this. And that's why we did it.
What up, y'all? Welcome back to the Creatures of Habit podcast. I'm so happy that the guest on the show, Josh Whalen, today complimented on the Creatures of Habit tee. If you don't have a Creatures of Habit t-shirt, make sure you go over to the Creatures of Habit website and check them out because they are fly. It made me so happy to hear that from Josh. I've got a guest on the show today that I am fired up about. Not only because I am a massive fan of his business, Blokes, but he and I met probably, I don't know, it's got to be 5 months ago, something like that. And there was a lot of guys and gals at the event that we were at together where we met. But Josh and I just kind of like connected, and he's an incredibly easy guy to talk to. If we lived in the same area, we would hang all the time. He's just one of these guys that I really am fired up to now call a friend. And he's done some amazing things in his career, which I'm actually learning. We were just talking about real estate. I didn't know that he was into real estate. I'm learning now that he's also in real estate. But what I know Josh for currently is he is the founder and CEO of Blokes and also Joy Wellness, right?
Yeah, the ladies.
And Joy, his wife, it runs the ladies' version of Blokes. And what Blokes is, it is a men's, I guess you could call it, is it telehealth?
It is telehealth.
Men's telehealth, but it is so much more than that. And I want to share this experience before I get Josh involved here because I think it's important to understand. You guys know, you listen to the podcast, you follow me on social media. My health is my priority, period, done, bar none, hands down. In front of my kids, in front of my wife, in front of my business. It is my priority because without my health, all that shit is gone. It doesn't matter. If I'm sick and suffering and on my deathbed because I haven't thought about making my health my priority, my wife is going to suffer. My children are certainly going to suffer. My businesses are going to fail. Everything that I put in front of my health really does suffer eventually. And so the long-term successful play is to make health your priority. And I started working with Blokes, I don't know, 2-3 months ago. And they sent somebody to, I was down in New York City. They sent somebody to my hotel room to pull my blood work. They ran an extensive set of labs on my bloods. And about 2 or 3 weeks later, I sat down with one of their doctors, Dr. JC, and he ran through over 100 different biomarkers. I've done blood work before for years, but I've never had anyone look at 100 different biomarkers to tell me how well I'm doing inside. And it was eye-opening for me because I do consider myself a very healthy guy. But even me as a very healthy guy need to work on a number of things. Because at Blokes, which is really cool, and I know this sounds like a commercial, but it's not. I'm actually fucking telling you my experience. There's like the standard or like even what some doctors, even functional doctors would say would be like the standard, which is far more intense than just the general Western doctor standard. They have an optimal like area where they want their patients to be in, and that's just like anything outside of optimal. They're not satisfied, so they're going to help me and all the other clients, or I guess you would call them patients, actually, at Blokes and at Joy. They're going to help me to be optimal, which is like 10x what my family doctor is going to help me do. The other thing that I really loved about Blokes was that when I sat down with JC, Dr. JC, and we got to talking, the conversation was like Yeah, he wanted to know about my family history health-wise. Yeah, he wanted to know about my daily practices, my habits, the things that I do on a regular basis, my diet, my fitness. But really, the thing that I was so inspired by was that, like, he was in better shape than I was, and I'm in pretty damn good shape. The guy is fucking jacked, and he really cares about his nutrition and his fitness. Our conversation, and I never have had a conversation like this with a doctor before, went from, like, you know, the typical doctor questions to like deadlifting and, you know, what are you doing? Like, what does your cardio look like, you know, right now? Like, what does your programming look like? We were talking about this stuff and I was like, oh my God, this is my doctor. So not only is this guy a doctor who's going to actually tell me how to be better from the inside out, but he's also doing the things that that I love to do as a human being in the world of wellness and fitness. So anyway, that was a long way of saying I fucking love Blokes. And Josh Whalen's the founder of that company, so I'm stoked that he's on the show. Josh, what's up?
Dude, you want a job? I mean, I can't do that better.
Yo, man, I'm passionate about it.
No, I love it, man. I love that you love your friends and you love your partners and the things that you do on a day-to-day basis, because that was amazing. And
Look,
I this is my first time actually hearing more about your whole experience. I know we've just, you know, chit-chatted more on a personal basis, but hearing you go through that was awesome. I'm glad it went so well.
Well, dude, it's real, you know, and the cool thing about it too, and I don't know if it's because JC and I just kind of connected and maybe, you know, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure that there's, you know, I'm sure I'm not getting special treatment, but when I text or email JC, he's firing back like within an hour or so. You know what I mean? Like, that's wild.
Dude, I got to tell you, like, you know, one of my pet peeves is how service has changed so much. Like, call an airline. You're going to be on hold for how long? Call a utility company. You're going to be on hold for... Call even a doctor's office. Like, I called my primary care. I rarely go to a primary care, but I called my primary care, and they're like, we can't get you in for, like, a few weeks. I'm like, dude, I just have, like, a little ailment. And, you know, I can just easily have somebody write me a script, but it's a pain in the ass. And one thing that I believe in to the utmost is just service. And our team has to believe in the same thing. You know, it's no assholes and service. Service. Or else, what else are you?
You know, it's so funny. I've boiled down business as an entrepreneur to 4 things. And I think if you can nail these 4 things and you have passion for what you're doing, it'll be hard to fail. And that doesn't mean it's not going to be hard, but to fail. So the 4 things that I've boiled it down to are: you need cash. You just do. It's just, you need cash. There's no other way, in my opinion. You need cash. So you have to have an idea that's compelling enough. You either need cash personally that you're going to personally fund something with, which I think is not necessarily always the best decision, because you definitely want other people in the mix for a variety of reasons. But you need fucking cash. You also need balls. And that I'm not saying balls like only men have balls. I'm saying, like, you need courage and you need to be fearless, right? Like, you need cash, you need to be fearless, because being an entrepreneur is scary as all hell. There's no, you just, every day you're facing the fear, you're facing fear in the eye, you know? Ideally, you have something for everyone. Ideally, right? Like, anybody could potentially partake in what you're offering. Lastly, and I think outside of cash, probably the most important piece is they're happier after experiencing your product or service than they were before. And those 4 things, you know, and I really kind of correlate that to more the restaurant business, especially with the something for everyone.
Yeah.
But I think it applies to any business.
Totally, man.
You know?
I love number 2. I mean, you got to have courage. You got to be brave. And for lack of words, you got to have balls.
Got to have balls.
I mean, I've been an entrepreneur now for 11 years. I worked for Stryker, big med device company, but wanted to see if the grass was greener. And bro, it was brutal. I thought I was going to just come out crushing it. I didn't make money for like 6 months. I had cash. I had reserves, right? But it was my money. It wasn't anybody else's. And I didn't get my first check after starting my own med device distributor for like 6 months, man. And I remember I was going to go get unemployment. My mentor at the time's like, dude, no, You're not doing that. Because up here, it's going to change. And I didn't do it. And then I got $2,000. Then I got $4,000. Then I got $6,000. And I was like, holy shit, I might be able to do this. But it took balls. And it took a lot of grit and a lot of hustle.
Mm-hmm. So tell us, give us a quick little snapshot, because I do want to talk about habits, specifically around the business that you've created, because I think health is obviously, if it's not your priority, anybody who's listening, it should absolutely be like priority. I don't remember where I read this. It was in a Ryan Holiday book, Obstacle is the Way or Courage is Calling, one of those two. And he said in the book, prior to like 1947 or something, priority was not, it was never a plural word. It was always priority. It's like one thing, not like my priorities. It's like it was only one thing. It's like my priority in life. And I believe that if your priority in life is not your health, like everything else falls to the wayside, right? Like when you are worried about your life because your health is out of whack, like nothing else matters. Doesn't matter how many people tell you they love you. Doesn't matter how much money you have in the bank. It doesn't matter how many fucking cash, toys you have. When you're knocking on death's door because you haven't taken care of yourself, everything else shits the bed.
I don't know. It's probably like Confucius or some shit like that. But I say it all the time. A healthy man has many wishes. An unhealthy man has one. Think about that. Let's just say something bad happened or something was discovered and all of a sudden you're up shit's creek. You got one wish, and that's to beat that, whatever that battle is from a health perspective. I've seen it firsthand, man. I've seen it firsthand with my dad. I've seen it firsthand with my stepdad. Cancer, heart disease, all that stuff, and you have to prioritize your health, man. It's got to be number one.
Yeah.
My wife has a good analogy. It's like when you get on a plane and they're like, put the children's mask on first. This is the time you put your mask on first. Because if you're going to take care of them 20, 30, 40 years from now, you got to start prioritizing your health.
On the plane, they actually tell you to put your mask on first.
They do.
Yes.
They do.
They tell you to put your mask on first, and that is an amazing analogy for this, right? Like, you're useless if you're dying, right? Like, you're not going to be able to save their lives.
Exactly.
Give us a quick snapshot of Josh Whalen. How did you get started?
Yeah, man. Married, 2 kids, been married 8 years, 5-year-old, 2-year-old. My son's name's Rowdy, and we are paying hell for it.
Is he the older one?
No, he's the young one, man. Boy. And he's in his terrible, too. So
wait till he's 3.
Amazing, bro. Like, one of the best things to ever do is be a father and be a really good one. And that is, like, my ultimate thing, besides business. But been in healthcare for pretty much my whole career, 15 years. Worked for a large med device company, Stryker, second biggest med device company in the world. And I was the guy in the room, the OR room, pushing spine implants. I decided to become an entrepreneur. That was before that word had a lot of buzz. Now it's everybody. Everybody's an entrepreneur. Everybody's a creator, right? I did this, 10, 11 years ago, and didn't really know what I was doing, but I wanted to see if the grass was greener. And I left Stryker. I was making $350,000 a year. My parents were like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, you got a cush job. Well, it wasn't cush, it was hard. But you're making great money. You're climbing the ladder. And I was like, no, I want to go see if I can do this on my own. And I did. And it was hard as hell. And since then, I've owned and operated compounding pharmacies, labs, to regenerative medicine clinics, stem cells. And we were crushing it. We had 4 clinics, Reno, Vegas, Omaha, and Des Moines. And we were doing close to $25 million in revenue, just paid off all our debt and poised to have an amazing year. And then COVID hit and shut our doors down for a solid 6 months because we were treating OA, osteoarthritis. And that demographic is about mid-60s. So they weren't leaving their house, and they certainly weren't spending money on elective procedures. And then we had the regulatory aspect, like no elective procedures, only emergency care. And that was the first time in my life, dude, that I literally shut my shit down. Like I had to chill out and look in the mirror. And I also had my wife going, I'm going to divorce you, dude. And I gained 50 pounds over, grinding and grinding and grinding. And I worked hard and I played really hard, very similar program to you at one point in my stage. I partied really hard and it finally caught up to me, man. And between that and my wife, I went through the primary care route and realized there was a massive opportunity in this whole space. Like I was given such bad guidance, such bad advice. I had testosterone levels in the low 200s, sometimes in the high 100s. All of a sudden made sense why I had no sex drive, why I gained a bunch of weight. I didn't even give a shit about the gym, and I used to be an athlete. That all coming together with finding out that there was an opportunity in the system and getting on therapies that I credit for changing my life, saving my marriage, probably preventing me from having a heart attack in my 40s because I have heart disease in my family. Lost 50 pounds, you know? That's when I was like, we got to fucking do this. And that's why we did it. And then we launched the ladies line 7 months later, and my wife has a similar story. 4 miscarriages we experienced, 2 natural babies. She gained a bunch of weight, went through the Blokes program, and all of a sudden it was like, holy shit, I'm crushing life. And she is. And then we realized how neglected women are in this process. And people don't realize that 1 in 5 OBGYN docs actually are trained in menopause, perimenopause. And that's where my wife is. She's 44 years old. And realize how much they've been neglected. And then we were like, we got to do this for the ladies too. So now we're like the My Pillow guy. We're founders. We're users. We love what we do. It's the hardest thing I've ever done. I've never had a more direct-to-consumer business in my life, but it is the most rewarding thing I've ever done.
It's so interesting. Like I said, dude, in the intro, man, like I love all the dudes that were out there at that thing, but out of all the guys out there, like I felt most connected to you. Ditto, and I felt like I could hang with you. Yeah. And that was before I had any experience with Blokes. And now that I have the experience with Blokes, like it's just, you know, I also coach a few guys. I don't call myself a coach necessarily, but I coach a few guys because I've been able to do a few cool things in business and fitness. And I sent my guys to you to Blokes, and this dude Isaac, who I've been coaching for years now, he was like, dude, I don't know, the guy Jace, he's a bodybuilder, and he was like, he was like, I can't even believe I was having that conversation like that with my doc.
It's funny, you know, he's I make fun of him because he looks like a trapeze artist. I've never seen a bigger, like, upper body, like chest and shoulders, and he's just naturally built. I mean, don't get me wrong, the guy works hard, but he's literally training for the world record in weighted dips.
Is he?
I swear to God, dude, he can do like 109 weighted dips, like with 45 pounds. I'm like, what? Like, where'd you even discover this? So it's pretty inspiring, but. You know, he practices what he preach.
Yeah, I mean, deal. I think that, so, like, the idea with habit, right? Like, I owe my life to habit. Literally, I owe my life to habit. I almost lost my life because of habit, and I was able to change those habits and implement positive habits, and, like, everything changed. I'm not unique. I'm not. Anyone can do it. You know, I always get like, oh, how do you eat well? How do you go to bed early? How do you wake up early? And like the short answer is you fucking do it, right? Like it's just it. And so that's why I feel like this podcast is inspiring and people love listening to it because we get to talk to people that actually believe in just fucking doing it.
I love that, dude. I got to tell you, that's just been my mantra. It's probably how I was raised. Like, just get the shit done, man. Like, just go. And, you know, be relentless in that pursuit of whatever the hell you're doing. Like, you're a founder. You're an entrepreneur. You get it. There's nobody that's going to stop you on this train, right? And that's from years of experience, years of habit, years of just going.
I love that you said that, though, because that's so true. There is nobody that's going to stop me, and there's nobody that's going to stop you.
Nope.
You know, and I got introduced to Lance Armstrong, like, I don't know, maybe a year ago, and he's an investor in Creatures of Habit.
Oh, nice.
And you know, I don't know what I did to impress Lance, but I get people that reach out to me and they say, man, we talk Lance Armstrong. I met Lance Armstrong, and your name came up, and he says you're fucking relentless. And you're and like, if anybody's going to win in an entrepreneurial thing, it's you. And I'm like, what? Lance Armstrong? And then he posted some random thing the other day about, and I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, that was dope.
And I think, and I'm not unique though. So I want everybody to hear that loud and clear, right? Like, I'm not unique. I really don't believe that. I believe that anybody can actually fucking throttle up. Anybody can throttle up. And for me, it starts with committing to a few small things every day.
Yeah.
So I would love to hear if you have a morning routine. I would love to hear what it is. And if you don't, that's all good too. But I would love to hear a few things that you do in the morning.
I will tell you, I don't.
Okay.
But I have non-negotiables. And I'll tell you why I don't. Because I have a natural alarm clock. And it's a 5 and a 2-year-old. My priority in the morning, this is a habit, right? This is a habit. My wife and I have committed to no tech time in certain times because I'm attached to my phone, bro. It is what it is.
I hear you.
It's a habit that I love to break, but it's also just intertwined in me. But from the time we wake up, which is about 6, we get our kids out the house. We show them a lot of love. We are very prioritizing them, and that is what gets my day going. I will tell you, I have a daily habit where I have to move. Movement every fucking day. And you got to understand, man, I was 50 pounds heavier 2 years ago. Like, I didn't even see I used to be a beast in the gym. I didn't see the gym for like 5 years, bro. And now I'm on this different mindset and this different track. And now it's like, if I don't move every day, something, like I'll put my GoRuck on and just go walk around the neighborhood for an hour, bro. Every day I'm moving. I have to move. And then, I have my pillars, man. Family, business, and health. And some days one is prioritized a little bit more, but I'm always now conscious of my health. And it's been a game changer, dude.
One thing that you said that I think I want to spend a little time talking about, or just point out, highlight, because you kind of breezed over it, that I think is GoRuck. Rucking was not something that I did until about, a year ago or so. And walking has been a big part of my life. Running used to be a big part of my life, massive. I was a long-distance runner for a long time, and I just destroyed my back from running. And so walking has been a big part of my life, but to get to where I wanted to be in the Zone 2 arena, typically, unfortunately, I would have to walk on a treadmill uphill, right? And then I got introduced to GoRuck, and I've got like a 4-mile loop where I live that I love walking, but my heart rate it's not like super tough unless I'm like speed walking, which I don't love doing. I put the GoRuck weight vest on, and I go from Zone 1 immediately to Zone 2. Oh. And I'm in Zone 2, and it's unbelievable how much of an impact like a rucksack or a weight vest or a rucker from GoRuck can actually like take you into Zone 2 cardio, which we all know now after study after study after study is where we want to be. We want to spend, something like 2 to 3 hours a week at minimum in Zone 2 cardio for cardiovascular health. Yeah. So I love that you mentioned GoRuck, because I love GoRuck. I love what they do. We're doing a really cool charity event with them in October. I would love you to come out for if you're around town.
Let's do it.
We're rucking 8 miles over all of the bridges that connect Manhattan to Brooklyn on October 14th, and we're raising money and awareness for substance abuse.
I love it. Oh, dude, I'm in, man. And you know, my dad was unfortunately a very, very bad alcoholic, so that's near and dear to my heart. So
yeah, it's going to be it's a great event that we're doing with them. So movement, I think, is anybody who's not moving, which is a lot of people. What can you give a little advice? A little like. I mean, I know we just got through saying, you just got to do it. But what like for someone who's listening right now, and even if it's just one person who gets a value out of this, I'm sure it's going to be way more. Like, you lost 50 pounds. Mm-hmm. You said you hadn't seen the inside of a gym in 5 years.
Yeah, man.
What inspired you to just say, fuck it, I got to change. I got to get out there?
Well, I had some consequences on the line. Like, my wife was literally going to divorce me. So I had a little bit of motivation there. But she threatened that hundreds of times. Up here, it just finally clicked. And I had some events that happened in my life that change. But if I was to give people just a little bit of advice, one step at a time. Like, listen, it can be 10 minutes in the gym. Don't go in there and be like, I'm going to crush the world. I'm going to be in there for 2 hours. I'm going to lift this. I'm going to lift that. Just start small. And then a week later, start a little bit more. And then the other thing too, man, like I find people, they are too critical of themselves. Like, hold yourself to a standard that you can achieve. Set some goals. Hold yourself to those goals. But take it in baby steps. Like if I would have even thought that movement would be part of my life every day, 7 days a week, I have to do something. It doesn't matter what it is. If I would have had that goal, day one, I would have fucked up royally. It took me a while to get in that mindset. And this is the habit stacking piece, right? That has so much value. Just constantly improve, hold yourself accountable, but don't beat yourself up if you don't always do it. Get back on the train, man.
My sister, who I love deeply, her and I had years of hardship together. We really had a hard time for many years. And this past January, my sister for the first time reached out to me and said, hey, I'd love some help on this health thing, this wellness thing. And I was so surprised, but so happy that she had asked me because, no one in my family had ever made health their number one priority. My father died at 57 from heart disease, heart failure. He was a diabetic, and he died super young, right? Like I'm thinking about 57. I'm like, that's like not far from where I am now. I mean, it's time, but I'm not 57. But it's not old. And so my family, I was kind of the one. Like once I transitioned from addict and an alcoholic to sober health guy, my family just rolled their eyes at me. Actually, it was like hard. Like I didn't have a lot of support. They supported my choice to get sober, of course, because I'd OD'd and everybody thought I was going to die.
Jeez.
But once I made the decision to get sober, I really dove deep into the fitness and wellness space. And everybody in my life was kind of just like, oh, God, he's fucking going ham. And I was like, you're right. Like, I'd much rather be lifting weights, running, marathons and smoking crack and, like, banging your wife.
Yeah, right.
You know what I'm saying? Because that's, like, where I was. Like,
yeah.
Like, that's literally where I was. Like, I had zero interest in anyone outside of myself, and I hated myself. And so you can imagine where you don't care about anyone, only yourself, and you hate yourself more than anyone on the planet. It's a fucking weird place to be. Anyway, so I changed. And so when my sister called me in January, I was like, thank God, And so her and I bonded over this thing. And now my sister's down 40 pounds from January. And her life is completely different. Her life is completely different. It's just unbelievable what a few small changes can do to someone's life.
Dude, I mean, I get chills because like when you're telling that about your sister and you're telling that about you, I'm seeing my journey as well. And when I first started this business, I need to do this, but I took a picture of myself because I knew right then I was going to change. I committed. I took a picture of myself in my underwear. And I haven't actually posted it, and it's a black background. And I was like, I'm going to change it. I'm going to hold myself to that. And it's taken time, but Jesus Christ, man, what a feeling, right? I say this all the time. It feels good to feel good. Like I just put on my suits, dude, my wedding suit. And I at that time, I was in decent shape. This was 8 years ago. Dude, the fucker doesn't even fit. Like I've lost, weight from my wedding date, and it feels good, brother. Like, it's an amazing feeling.
Now, how long has Blokes been around?
September will be 2 years.
September will be 2 years. So you and I are neck and neck, man.
We're very close.
August 27th is 2 years for Kreatures. And I know that you can't share patient information, but, like, what do you see? What do you see most? Like, what problems do you guys see most in blood work?
Everything usually starts with a symptom. Right? Somebody is feeling sluggish, lack of energy, sex drive, mental, all that stuff that is not adding up. We are now starting to position ourselves as like not just be symptomatic, be very proactive versus reactive. So now we're starting to get patients who are like, hey, I want to just look under the hood and I want to make some changes that could, that I didn't see before. And I give that story of like CrossFit athletes. They look good. They're shredded. And then you get in their labs and you're like, holy shit, there's a lot going on here. You know, inflammation, cortisol levels, you know, obviously testosterone levels, because they're putting so much mental and physical stress on themselves, men and women. But it's kind of across the board, you know, but all of it starts with a symptom. And, you know, right now we're trying to lead the charge and saying, hey, be proactive about this. Don't react. We love saying fuck sick care, as you know. I got a hat for you.
I want that hat.
It's at the hotel, dude.
Oh, man.
I got to get it to you. But I brought it for you. But, you know, and our people are skewing younger and younger, but our sweet spot's 30 to 55, you know.
Are you guys, is the main focus on hormonal health? Do you believe hormonal health is kind of at the core what could potentially influence everything else?
I believe that hormones are the most important functioning cells, messengers in the body, and it's beyond testosterone. I think every decision that you make in a day, every feeling you have, good, bad, ugly, is affected through hormones. I think if you can optimize them in many different facets, not just testosterone, you're going to live a long, healthy life.
So why is there a stigma around testosterone?
Well, let me just tell you what I think of testosterone. I don't look at it as a drug. I look at it as a hormone. Mm-hmm. It's a male and female hormone that we absolutely need. Women need it just like men. It's vital to everyday life. But I think a lot of it stems from bodybuilder 1980s, 70s, where they're doing shit that is beyond testosterone. It's stuff that we don't even get access to, you know, and they're getting it from their buddy at the gym. And
you mean they're calling it testosterone, but it's anabolic steroids?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. It's not about replacing what should be there. It's about beyond that. And they get this high. They literally get a physical and mental high from it. And they're taking stuff that you can't even test for. You know, it's massive, massive stuff. And I think that's where the stigma comes from. But I think we're slowly starting to understand how vital it is for us. And you know, I will tell you, there's a massive movement happening for men, but also with women. And they're realizing how valuable testosterone is for women.
How unhealthy is it to have low testosterone?
Extremely. I give the analogy that if testosterone was a bell curve, there's the optimal range, and that's that middle portion. There's the high level range, which is the outlier. That's really unhealthy too. Like that's the bodybuilders. Guys are flopping over, having heart attacks in their 20s and 30s. And then there's a low range, and that's very unhealthy as well. I mean, there are absolute ties to, you know, more mortality, autoimmune issues, cancers by low testosterone. I mean, I hate talking about COVID, but, you know, at first they thought high testosterone was attracting COVID, and then they realized, God, no, the people who are unhealthy, the low testosterone people are actually the ones that are struggling the most. We'll never talk about that, but it's true.
You are comfortable saying that lower testosterone, specifically in, well, not men and women, but specifically what we're talking about Blokes here, talking about just general health for men. Low testosterone in your late 30s and 40s is not uncommon, right? It's like more common than not, actually,
right,
from the people that I speak to. And I competed as a bodybuilder naturally for like 4 or 5 years. And I actually never paid attention to my testosterone. I just didn't, you know, like I had done blood work, but I never really looked at my testosterone. I was looking at like my cholesterol, my vitals, my organs, shit like that. After I made a decision to stop bodybuilding because I wasn't going to be I'm an entrepreneur, a father and a husband, you know, I love my wife and kids. I love my businesses. Like I'm not going to go on the pro bodybuilding circuit. You know what I'm saying? Like that would be kind of weird and funny. But I was one of these weird guys that just like loved doing it. I love the discipline of it. I love like, you know, I mean, like if you tell me I can't do something and you tell me how hard it's going to be, I'm like, give it to me, man. Let's go. And so I love doing it. I love the challenge of it. But when I was done, made a decision. I was like, I'm done with this. I ran some bloods, and not as extensive as what you can do with Blokes, but I like ran blood work and found out that my T level was low. I was in the low 2s.
Yeah.
And I couldn't fucking, I was like, wait, what do you mean I'm in the
Yeah.
law? Like, I would never assume someone like me, super healthy, lifts heavy weights, like, doesn't actually feel tired, didn't have the best sex drive. That's true. Like, with the bodybuilding, specifically, like in a contest prep,
Sure.
no sex drive.
Yeah.
But I didn't think that I was like a low testosterone candidate until I found out. And I was like, oh, shit. And I tried to do everything I could naturally to raise my T levels, and I couldn't. They wouldn't come up. And so I went on testosterone. I went on TRT. I did it for 5 or 6 months, and I was hoping that I would be one of those guys that was like, game changer, changed my life. And unfortunately for me, I had a hard time with it. My body, I felt like I was holding on to water. I felt like I was like, and chances are it was probably the kind of testosterone I was taking. But I said, I'm not going to do this. Just because it didn't feel good. Now, my T levels went way up. And I will tell you this 100%. Where I felt it the most, and I was on a low dose of testosterone, my sex drive went, I couldn't believe it.
Your wife's like, stop.
Yeah, she was like, whoa,
Yeah.
hold it down, brother.
Yeah.
But that was the area where I felt it the absolute most. And I was like, wait a second, like, is this what it's supposed to be? Where I'm at right now, is this what it's supposed to be? Because I felt like an 18-year-old.
Yeah.
So I missed that for sure. And I think that chances are, like, if I can get dialed in and find the right, I will go back on TRT.
Sure.
I really do think that if you can figure out natural ways, and so right now I'm actually taking a supplement that I love, that's a blend of Tungat Ali, Fedogia agrestis, and ashwagandha. And I take that and I feel good. I'm not going to be like in the 8 to 1,000 T levels, but you know, I love where it is right now with that. And so I'm on that. And Dr. JC is going to send me some stuff too to try the enclomiphene, which I'm excited to try.
Yeah, totally.
Are we allowed to say that on this?
Sure,
Okay.
of course.
And so, you know, but I think the point of this is if you're lacking in an area where you're not supposed to be lacking, right? If someone told me that blood was essential for survival, and they were like, "You're running low on blood, buddy."
You got it. Yeah.
Like, you're running low on blood.
Yeah.
You know, your body makes the blood, your body makes the testosterone. If someone was like, "You're running low on blood, you gotta do some transfusions. You gotta take some blood," I'd be like, "Okay, give me the blood."
Yeah.
Like, I'm happy. Yes, I want the blood. I want to live optimally. Similarly, I think with testosterone, if you're supposed to have a certain amount of testosterone, and we know all the different reasons as to why our T levels have been declining year over year, right? Like microplastics and all these things that have been proven to be affecting our hormone levels. Why wouldn't, and we know that it's unhealthy for a variety of reasons to have low testosterone. Mm-hmm. Why wouldn't anyone want to replace the hormone?
Damn good question, man. I think that's $1 billion question. I think we're discovering that when it's done in a medical setting, it's done with supervision from a physician or nurse practitioner or a PA. You're incorporating labs. It's extremely safe and it's extremely healthy. I think we're battling stigmas from years ago. And I mean, look, there's the whole natty argument and all that shit. Like, I don't even get it. Like, I'm an open book, dude. You see me at a restaurant, I'll tell you everything I'm doing. But I think there's some perception that we're carrying from years. But I think we're starting to discover, like, you want a healthier life, you want a longer lifespan, you want a better health span. These are very crucial things that you have to address. And I like what you say. Like, hey, if my car's out of oil, I got to put oil in it. Why wouldn't I do that with this? Why wouldn't you do that with the body? You do it with vitamin D. That's an easy one. That's a hormone. Why not do it with testosterone?
Yeah, it's not like plastic surgery, right? Like, plastic surgery is, and I've got nothing wrong. Plastic surgery, go for it. But, like, it's very different than plastic surgery, where you're not going to be healthier with a nose job. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? It's just not that. And so for me, and I also think that for the younger person who's in their 20s, without kids, right? Like there are some side effects to testosterone, right? There are some things that everyone should consider. And I'm not a doctor, so don't, take this with a grain of salt. But like you shouldn't, in my opinion, from what I know and the research that I've done, if you're struggling with low testosterone in your 20s, something is potentially significantly off.
Something's off.
Something's off.
Yeah.
And like if there's young people that in their teens, 20s, even maybe early 30s that are like, hey, like my T level's low, I'd be like, all right, well, you should, before you do testosterone, before you go into the TRT arena at that age without kids, you should start lifting super duper heavyweight.
Absolutely.
Start lifting fucking heavyweight and start eating like if you're in a deficit because you're trying to be shredded, like chill out with that, because I learned very quickly that being in a deficit for the amount of times that I was in a deficit, 4 or 5 months out of the year in a contest prep, man, it just tanked my T level. Tanked. And for me, it wasn't like a natty T thing. It was like I was competing in a natural bodybuilding organization because my coach was a natural bodybuilder.
Yeah.
So he was like, this is what you should do. And I was like, great, let's go.
Yeah.
So if you're young and that's an issue for you, or if you're like, I would just say, hey, look at your nutrition, and if you're not lifting heavyweight, male or female, fucking get after it.
Yep.
Because that is what is going to help increase your testosterone levels.
100%, man. I will tell you, we are seeing younger and younger patients. We really, I would say it's rare we've put somebody on replacement under 35. It doesn't need to happen. There are still things that you can do. And if you are in your 20s and you have a shitty testosterone score and the symptoms match it, and I think that's an important thing to point out. There are some guys that can live and breathe at low T levels and function really well. And that's the patient you just leave alone. But if the symptoms are matching that testosterone score, then you have to address it. But we are seeing lower and lower age groups with lower and lower T. It's an epidemic, man. And I think there's so much that's tied to it, whether it's social media, our phones, gaming, our food system. I mean, dude, it's you live and breathe by, a healthy lifestyle. But, I was with family in the Midwest. It's just like, it's not even part of the game plan. It's a major, major thing. And I feel like people are working out less and less, pushing weight. It's a very important thing for testosterone.
I mean, I'm sitting here and I'm talking to you, and I didn't know that we were going to land in this testosterone spot in this place, but I'm so happy we have, because I think it's such an important topic to discuss, especially on a habit podcast, right? Like, when your body stops making what it's supposed to make, if you introduce exogenous testosterone to your body, it is going to tell your body to actually stop producing it, right? There is that, hey, if you start testosterone, you can never come off of it, which I think is also bullshit, because I was on testosterone and I'm off of it.
You're
right?
a poster guy for that, dude. Because listen, it's a big marketing tactic with companies, supplement companies. I see it's a complete falsity. I mean, your body will start making it again. To the extent of ever being at that level that you were at, absolutely not. But nobody's arguing that. But there's a big push and marketing, and it typically stems that way. But you can get on it, you can get off it. You can do it healthy wise. You can do it the right way.
Well, I think this is what we need to point out too, right? There is a health conversation that we're talking about, and then a performance conversation that we're talking about. And I think the stigma comes from the performance conversation, right? If you are literally taking a dose of testosterone that is getting you to the place where you are actually supposed to be, I see zero wrong with that. Zero.
Yep.
Zero. If you're taking a dose of testosterone to take you to a place where you're going to be able to, be only because of the testosterone, lift 20% more weight in the gym, that's a different conversation.
Yeah.
Because, by the way, it will do that too. In an unsupervised environment, if your testosterone's at 1,200, 1,400, you're going to be stronger, right? It's just, it's true.
Yep.
So there's a health conversation and there is a performance conversation. And I think it's unfair those two things are under one umbrella.
Yep.
I think, man, if my body didn't respond poorly to testosterone, if I didn't feel like I was carrying weight, oily skin, if I didn't have those feelings, you bet your fucking ass I'd be on testosterone.
Yeah.
I'm a 42-year-old guy. I'm a dad of two young kids. I'm an athlete too. And I love those things.
Yep.
I want to do those for as long as I can. That's the truth. I've got no problem saying it. You know, I love CrossFit. I wanted to compete in CrossFit, and I'm still going to do CrossFit, but the testosterone thing, like if my T levels are super duper low, there's no way I'm going to be able to compete with these guys, right? And so now that I'm like, I've taken testosterone, I can't compete in CrossFit anyway.
Yep.
And I'm like, that's okay. I want to live the best fucking life I can live. If having a hormone that is going to prevent me from doing that because it's at a low level, I don't see anything wrong with bringing that level to the right place.
Totally. I'll tell you, man, I look at it in one funnel, and it's health. You know, it's if it's going to make you healthier and you're going to be a better version of yourself, then it should be considered. If you're doing it to physiologically levels that are unhealthy, then you shouldn't be doing it. And there's a lot of that happening too. And that's why you see the regulatory aspect of it. It's a controlled substance, and not a low one. It's a controlled substance because there's people abusing the shit out of it.
Right.
But it's not what we're doing, right? It's not in a clinical setting. It's not under supervision, and they sure as hell aren't incorporating labs.
Outside of that, what other, like, where else do you think people listening to this podcast, I mean, I'm hoping that people that listen to this podcast hop on and check out what you guys are doing there.
Yeah.
Because I've never had someone look under the hood the way you guys look under the hood. Now what you guys are doing, which I think is fucking even cooler, is you have a customized supplement pack that just shows up at your house based on your blood work, not like guessing whether, like I should be taking omega-3s, I should be taking a multivitamin, I should be taking, this specific whatever probiotic. Like, not everybody is going to be the same. Like, it's not like a one-size-fits-all thing. Like some people do really well in the carnivore diet and some people don't. Some people, can eat a lot of carbohydrates and their insulin sensitivity is awesome. So, like, they can deal with it. Like, some people can't.
Yep.
With supplements, I think it's the same way. So, like, you guys have created this thing called Smart Subs, which I think just takes all the guesswork out. And based on your blood work, your doctors prescribe natural supplements that just show up at the house.
Yeah. One of the things, I mean, we've talked about this. We believe with any patient, like, just get healthy. Whatever we can do to get you there. I mean, there are many occasions where we go to people and we're like, you don't need anything from us. Get on some supplements. Go do something. So this to us was just completing the puzzle, but also carrying the same level of integrity that we have to, from a regulatory standpoint, have to carry in healthcare. And I've always had a love-hate relationship with supplements. And, it shouldn't just be about, should you feel it? Or, I want to know if it's working. I want to know if it's moving. I want to know if I'm feeling it. I want to know if my money's being put to good use. And this was our version of doing that. It was, let's take the guesswork out of it. Now, there is a one-on-one, clinical approach. Like maybe they're already on something and they love something from, a different company. We can work with that. But the goal is to make it super accessible, super convenient, and directly tied to your biomarker. And I'll tell you,
that's massive.
Me being the guy that has an RX portion of our business, I've always believed in that. But I will tell you, we have the changes we've seen through precision supplementation have been profound. There's a guy that started working with us recently, Colt Plunge Cam. Do you know who he is? Mm-hmm. I mean, he's a guy in the ice barrel all the time. Phenomenal guy. Didn't start working with us originally, and then we brought him on as ambassador. But he's told this story, so I can repeat it. We've been doing precision-based supplementation with him for a while now, a few months, and it's changed his life. He's got an open, battle with Tourette's, anxiety, and depression. And he tells that all the time. But, he went to his psychiatrist and he's like, I think I want to get off this shit. I want to get off these SSRIs. And they agreed. Like, well, you're doing something different. And the only difference was what we've been doing. And it was really remarkable. He went and told his parents this. And, you know, we noticed that he had a really, really abnormally low DHEA score, which is easy to address through supplementation. And his parents go, yeah, Cam, we've been supplementing with DHEA our whole life. Our whole family's deficient in it. And he's like, what the fuck? You haven't told me about this? Dude, he's feeling like $1 million just through supplementation, but precise supplementation. And it's made me a believer, man. And, you know, we have hundreds of those stories. And it's a phenomenal, phenomenal thing that we think we're adding. And it just completes the puzzle.
I can't wait to get going with it because I just got my box.
Love it.
And, you know, I was looking at what I currently take,
Yep.
which is like a shit ton of supplements. I mean, I literally, it's almost ridiculous how many pills I take in the morning and in the evening. And then I look at the pouch that you guys sent me, and I was like, this is the story that you guys have created, right? Like the person like me who's like really cares about his or her health and listens to what the shit that you hear. Like, you should take this.
Yeah.
I got a handful of pills that I take, and then I got you guys, and it was like a third of what I take on a regular basis. And I was like, wow, like if this is real, not only have I wasted like a ton of money, but like, you know, I really can't wait. I can't wait to like see how it affects.
Me too. I'll tell you, you mentioned this earlier, the entrepreneur side. Like, do people feel it? Is it sticky? Like, to me, this is sticky, and in a good way. It's convenient as hell. My wife, I mean, I don't know how many things of supplements, like jars and jars and jars. I'm like, how do you even keep that straight? Like, the simplicity of just A to B in this is really good, and it's therapeutic doses. It's something that you're gonna feel over time. And then we're going to test you again, and we're going to go, okay, let's see where those changes have actually taken place. And how do you feel? You know? So it's a fun project. We've been working on it for way too long, but it's here. It's here in a couple weeks.
That's awesome. This is a great combo, dude.
Yeah, man.
It was a great combo. We talked about entrepreneurship. We talked about journeys in life. We talked about hormone replacement therapy. We talked about supplementation, a little bit on the habits. I mean, we really covered a lot. And I'm sure that there's more conversations to be had. I know that this is going to bring value because I'm so happy we got into the hormone topic because so many people are curious. You know, so many people are curious, and I'm one of these guys that like believes that if there is a way to optimize in a healthy fashion, you should do it. You should or at least consider doing it under the right circumstances. And you've been an asset for a lot of people. A lot of our friends, you know, I know a lot of people that are like just super stoked to be a part of what you're doing. And you're helping people live healthier lives, man, which I think at the end of the day, we started off the podcast with the priority, right? Like, I know without a question of a doubt, and I've said it for years, my number one priority is me. It just is. I put myself before my wife, before my kids, before my business, before everything, because I know that when I am the priority in my life, I am a better husband, a better father, a better friend, a better brother, a better business person. I show up better in life. So it is actually selfless, right? And you're a catalyst for that. You're making it easier for people to have healthy habits. And I'm stoked that I get to call you my friend, man.
Me too, brother. And by the way, I love that close because I think more people need to understand the power of prioritizing themselves. And it's powerful, man, because the ripple effect is just so everything around you is better. Everything.
Yeah.
I mean, I will tell you, I am such a better father because of my health. My patience has changed immensely. I'm a better husband. I'm a better businessman. Like, there's no way in hell I could have done this 3 years ago. No way in hell. And I love that, man.
Peace of mind, dude.
Yeah.
You know, like, why would you want to wait until it was too late? Like, what would be like, I'm sure the first thought that comes into anyone's mind when they find out something is wrong is, I wish I would have done something different, you know?
Yeah.
And obviously there are health situations that just come out of nowhere. The healthiest people on the planet, right? So I'm not saying we're not talking about those people. But for the vast majority of people that suffer from disease,
Yeah.
It's a lifestyle thing.
It is, man. Prioritize it.
Where can people find Blokes and Joy?
It's super easy. Blokes.co, Blokes. And then we got a lot of love happening at Instagram. It's growing. Lots of good community there. And that's just at Get Blokes. And then for the ladies, at Joy Women's Wellness and choosejoy.co.
And Joy is spelled a different, how do you spell it?
It is. J-O-I. Thanks for reminding me.
Okay. At Joy.
Yeah.
J-O-I.
Yeah, J-O-I. Choose Joy.
Dude, this was awesome. Thank you so much, man. I really appreciate you coming on.
Thanks for having me.
All
man.
the way from Nashville, Tennessee.
Well, we're getting you down.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Creatures of Habit Pod. I know, I don't question, I don't think, I don't wonder. I know you got value today. You just did. If you listened to this whole episode, you got value. Health is the number one. It's the number one. And there are ways today to stay on top of your health without having to go through the traditional healthcare system, waiting for your doctor, waiting for an appointment, waiting for an MRI, waiting for, there are ways today that you can do it on your own schedule. And Josh has made that possible for people, for anyone, really. So I'm stoked that he was on the show. I hope you got value. I'm sure you did. It would mean the world to me if you shared this podcast. Share it with a friend. Share it with a family member. Share it with anyone who you think could benefit from it. And what would make me really, really stoked and really, really happy and love you forever is if you gave us a review and a 5-star rating. That would mean the world. That is how we keep the podcast going. That is how we get, we surge every once in a while when we get a bunch of reviews and ratings. So I really appreciate it. And if you do review and rate, you enter to win a bunch of Creatures of Habit Meal 1 and Nightcap. So keep doing those reviews and ratings, and I will keep sending you awesome products and creating great, valuable content for you to listen to while you are on your morning commute, on the treadmill, on a walk with your dog, whatever you're doing in this 45-minute period of time. I am honored that you are listening in. So thank you. You know I love you. You know I appreciate you. Until the next one, y'all. Peace.